This is the 12th class in this series of Unpacking Yoga Teachings and Practices. And today we are going to talk about stillness. Of course, there is nothing in the world which is absolutely still, and we know it. Try to think of anything which is perfectly still. There isn't. The earth is perfectly still, really. See how it's whizzing around this space. But today we are going to talk about the stillness of the mind. People say, yes, we want to meditate, we like to meditate, we are going to practice meditation. But the very foundation of meditation is stillness. So we need to first curb this turbulence. Now, what is stillness? Yeah, we know what stillness. Why? Because we are restless. Our mind is restless. It's just mental chatter. We are talking to ourselves or with ourselves all the time. That is a no-go while meditation. And this is one of the biggest problems. People think they are meditating, but they are talking to themselves. Now, perfect stillness, that calmness, that silence is not something which is kind of negative. When things are very quiet, we feel sometimes uncomfortable because we are so gregarious and we like to interact with people. But in the stillness preceding meditation, one feels that silence, and that silence is positive. It gives you two things: a tremendous power and joy. Why do you think people meditate? They get both these two things, not free, of course, but they have practiced it, and we also can practice it. Now, there are basically three ways of getting into this perfect stillness. One, as we know, is through deep meditation. Through concentration. We talk about perfect stillness and yet we are uncomfortable. But sometimes in periods of great stress or adventure or some experience, the mind plunges in. And as it plunges in and you emerge from those depths, you feel a sense of great power and energy and purpose. You notice it. So, this is a positive state. Still, I want to be still, but it's a very positive state that has to be understood. So, people who are lethargic and they say, oh, my mind is very still. Actually, it's covered by darkness. There is no light of knowledge in it. So, that's a negative state. So, three methods are: one is concentration, you plunge in. All the mental chatter and all the turbulence is on the surface. You plunge in and you leave all that thing behind. Now, we don't need to get into some of the research that has gone in here, that the default mode of the mind is to chatter, to talk, and it has thousands of thoughts in 1 hour. And you imagine how much energy is being drained by this kind of mental chatter. That's constant. It is known that the mind needs to function, and it functions through thinking and feeling and willing. So there are always waves in the mind, always. There are some people who say, yeah, there are not just not 1,000, but a couple of thousand per hour. And you can imagine every minute and every second we've got things running into our heads. That is just a kind of a very difficult situation where you can take that kind of mind and meditate. So that mind will throw you out. You may be sitting down, but the mind has already kicked you out of that realm of meditation. So one is first through concentration. You plunge deep and deep and deep, hold on to idea and plunge. The turbulence is left behind, and as you plunge in deeper, you will find that you are no longer now affected by the turbulence. And when you emerge out, you feel refreshed, you feel new. Well, at other times other than meditation, you do have that mental chatter, but that's now going to gradually reduce the more you practice. But this sometimes takes months or sometimes even years, and sometimes even lifetimes. So you need to put effort into this. That's a subtle aspect, but the grossest aspect is you can use just breath and awareness of the breath to quieten the mind. That's very important. So we will practice this breath and awareness of the breath. We have done a few exercises, but a repetition will help it fix in your mind. The second method, every thought. We may think it's just a thought, it's a fancy or an imagination, or some picture comes in and just flits out. Actually, no. Each thought is a result of energy, of power. Each thought has an inherent power. That is the power of prana, that a vital force that we've been speaking about. So when you have these thousands and thousands of thoughts, they are all thousand and thousand, you can say, packets of life or vital forces, which are just being dissipated out. What we need to do is first get them all together, harness their power into one particular mantra. So what happens is that mantra, it's like the fire eating fire. You take that one and all the other, you can say, packets of vital energies which are embedded in each thought is now pulled into this mantra. All the other thoughts begin to cease. Mental chatter stops, but you are using a higher form of mental chatter, which is called the repetition of a mantra or a prayer. You take a small prayer and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat over and over and over and over and over again. This is also one form of mental chatter, but this is actually drawing away all the other mental chatter and enfolding it within itself, and that mantra, the repetition of the mantra, becomes very powerful. This is the second. The third is those who are kind of have very high cognitive abilities. All of us are cognitive, of course, but there are others who can, as it were, separate themselves abstractly from the mind, from the mental chatter. They can kind of see that they can view that screen of the mind as a separate kind of entity, and they are watching it. So, the more you can separate yourself from that mental chatter which is happening on the screen of the mind, you know that I'm not bothered with what goes on there. And with all things, when you pay attention to a particular thing, that particular thing stops. It's as if self-conscious. Now, you keep on looking at a person, gaze at a person, don't stare, of course. And if you have to stare, also see that that person immediately becomes self-conscious, and the person restrains himself or herself. So, this is what happens with this third method, just to observe the mind, observe the screen of the mind as a neutral subject, but keen observation is what stills everything. All the mental chatter suddenly becomes self-conscious. What am I doing here? As someone with a, you can say, floodlight lighting up all the nonsense that we are doing. And then the subject becomes stronger and stronger. So, this is the third method. So, the first method, as we have seen, is you can use the awareness of the breath. Okay. I will give you a brief outline before we can practice it. The idea is, we have a whole physical system composed of the respiration and the circulatory and the immune and the nervous and everything within it. There are various systems all working in sync. Sometimes they don't work in sync, of course, and that's the problem with it. So, when you synchronize everything, and how do you synchronize all the systems? Through breath. Okay, we can understand it. Most of our breathing is irregular. We need to regularize it. And secondly, breath is not just merely air. According to Vedanta, it is the vital force, the prana. So, you, as it were, fill your body with this prana, this vital force. And as you fill it in deeper and deeper and deeper, you will feel, after some months of practice or even weeks of practice, a kind of a tingling sensation all over the body. Yeah, it's nice. It's a comfortable feeling. Don't worry. The nerves, etc., as it were, getting oxygenated. The breath flows right down to the very tips of all these nerves and the fingers and everywhere. So we start with just breathing deeply and deeply and deeply. So what we do is, first we breathe through the mouth. Generally, breathing through the mouth is not advisable, but in this practice, you breathe through the mouth 3 times. You are actually, as it were, sucking in the air, gulping down air. So, you open your mouth slightly, suck in and let go. The inhalation should be able to be like a kind of a suction device. You're inhaling. Let the exhalation be natural. You don't need to be making an effort there. So, you suck in, then you close your mouth. Then you do the same thing with your mouth closed with the nostrils. And it has to be you need to pull it hard. In our previous classes, I had mentioned about using the belly button, pushing and pulling the belly button out, pushing it out, pulling it in. That's the correct way of the yogi's breathing. But in this, what you are doing is you are now drawing in the air first from the mouth and then to the nostrils. It's like that's the way. So even if a residue of that air still remains in your lungs, it doesn't matter. What we are interested in is not the air. We are interested in you are filling in yourself with all that energy of prana, the force of prana. So you are drawing into it. We have found that if you can do this like 10 sets, we don't start with 10, we do 3 sets, that's or maybe 2 sets, each set comprising of 10 inhalation and exhalation, that's 1. Okay, just to give you an idea. So you don't need to kind of get fatigued. You won't get tired, of course, when you breathe in like this. As you keep on doing this, you will find 2 things happening, 3 things. First, there will be that, like I said, the tingling, that nice tingling feeling all over your body. The second, you'll feel a kind of a lightness. Your body will not feel heavy. You see, most of us, they say we go to the doctors and this and that and all, the body feels so heavy. We've got to as if drag the body around. The body isn't moving about by its own will. So this breathing makes your body feel light. It will remove lethargy, and which is another obstacle to meditation. And if you can do it properly after months, and not in months, sometimes it takes, as I said, years. If you can do it correctly, you get into a kind of a trance-like state. It might seem weird. It's not. Is this something you're going crazy or it's a natural? No. Your mind is simply lifted up. I said it's a trance-like state where there's perfect clarity and concentration. So in this practice, what happens? All mental chatter stops completely. Okay. So this is the first practice. So like I said, let's do it one time with your mouth open, the second time without the mouth open, close, and then do it 3 times just with your nose, but with one condition. You need to pay attention, or you can be aware of your nostril. This is the place, according to Vedanta, that's a seat of prana. This is the seat of prana. So become aware of this part, and as you breathe in, follow the breath down. And then as it emerges out, follow it out. Okay? So follow me now. Sit down still and straight. Now suck in the air to the mouth. Exhale through the mouth. Close your mouth. Exhale. Now rapidly breathe in and breathe out with awareness. This is, so one set consists of 10 or 12 breathing. So as you are breathing in and breathing out, you are doing it with awareness, you will find mental chatter simply arrested. At that point of time, there is nothing mental. Okay. So this is the first method. The second method, as I said, is the repetition of a prayer or a mantra. Okay. Now, when you are repeating a prayer or mantra, those who have been initiated formally in a mantra use it. But if you are not, you can use the very famous Om Namah Shivaya. And if it's difficult, just say Om, Om, Om. Okay? Sit down still, please. Close your eyes. Keep your tongue relaxed in your mouth. Relax all your facial muscles. Now repeat with me. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Okay, open your eyes. You get the technique. First is audible. The second stage of repetition is semi-audible, and the third state is silent. It can be any prayer. Take up any prayer. It doesn't mean that that I'm telling you Om Namah Shivaya, you've got to do that. What happens is when you're audibly chanting the prayer, what happens is the first thing is, the sound vibrations not only come out of the mouth, but half of the sound vibrations go down into your facial structure, your bones, and enters through the bones and nerves and muscles inside. They are vibrating, and the sound goes straight to the brain. The second part of the sound, because you can hear what you speak, the sound comes out and also gets into your ear before it can get into other people's ear, of course. Okay. So the sound comes out, it's also going in the ear and going to your brain, and the internal vibrations of that particular sound also get transmitted from your face, from your mouth, from the bones and all these things in your skull, and gets into the brain. It's like, I had seen a place, it's like when you wear a mask. Okay. I mean, yeah, in the old days they used to wear that big mask, and when you say hello, you see an echo coming inside you. It's coming, you can hear that, and the sound going out also. So there's an echo that happens when you audibly and semi-audibly repeat a mantra, and it goes inside. So there's an echo here, and there's a direct kind of sound going inside. This is the second method. But when we come down to silent repetitions, you must be able to hear that sound inside distinctly. Suppose I say hello, and now I repeat this silently. I must be able to hear that hello mentally. That will stop all mental chatter and keep it still. Okay. So we've seen these two aspects. Remember, first start chanting it audibly, then make it semi-audibly, and the third is silently. And the silent repetition of any prayer means you can hear it yourself you're repeating it, and that will quell all the other thoughts. The third method, which of course is good in a way, and most people can do that, it is you close your eyes, and as you close your eyelids, light filters through those eyelids, and there's a kind of a pale yellowish kind of screen that you watch. Now that is not the mind, but you can take it as an abstract screen of the mind. You are objectifying the mind, and this objectification of the mind happens everywhere in all activities. Here you are suddenly conscious, oh, when your visual, you can say, senses are closed, what you see is all these thoughts bubbling and popping up. You just watch the screen of your mind with all these thoughts teeming inside. Let them team inside, it doesn't matter. And then what we do is, we, like in an abstract way, push the screen of the mind 1 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, keep on pushing it slowly away from where you are located. When you are looking at the screen, generally with your eyes closed, you will be somewhere in the center of your brain, if you notice, and you push it away as if you're pushing it 10 feet away, and you're watching it like a kind of a thumbnail. That which is extremely close, if you notice, when two boxers are trying to fight, when they get too close, their strength and style are cramped. When they separate, then they can really pitch in and fight and etc. So when the screen of the mind is extremely close to you, what happens is you are kind of overwhelmed by those thoughts. Make those thoughts on the screen as it were distant from you, and as if you're watching it in a very detached way. This is the third method. While doing it, you can also repeat a prayer or a mantra. That also is kind of complementary. Or those with high cognitive abilities can just watch it. Swami Vivekananda says, stand like a witness, watch the mind, and make the subject stronger. We have spoken about strengthening the subject. So this is how the subject becomes stronger. When the chatter is loud, the subject becomes weak. It is kind of submerged in the chatter. You lose yourself. So when the chatter or the surface mind is running about like crazy, the subject becomes weak, the objective mind becomes stronger. In this, what happens is, the objective mind becomes weaker and the subjective mind becomes stronger. This subjective mind is nothing but your own personality. You don't get into this kind of who is that person, who is that thing, who is that entity watching it, watching this. It is you, your personality, you're watching. So you are distancing yourself from everything else. And so this gives power to the subject. Okay. So much for practicing stillness. We can do the second one. Close your eyes. The third one, the third practice. Close your eyes, please. Sit straight. Now watch the screen of your mind. As you can see, there's a kind of a light yellow color. Now watch everything that's happening on that screen. Thoughts come, flicker and go. And if nothing is coming, wonderful. Now, as it were, mentally you are pushing that screen away from you. Keep on slowly separating yourself from that screen that you are viewing. And as you push it away, it appears smaller. You are seeing just a thumbnail of that screen. As the screen becomes smaller and smaller, you grow taller and taller, larger and huge. You can hear also chant your prayer. Okay, open your eyes, please. There it is. So these are the 3 time-tested techniques that are used to still the mind. It is only after this then you can really do some meditation. Yeah, it took me a few years to get into this idea of, I used to plunge in meditation and I used to be thrown out. And I used to wonder what everybody is meditating except me. I'm sitting down, but then I'm not meditating. My mind is running all over the place. So this stillness is extremely important. Your entire being is full of prana, that energy. You're feeling dominant and you can quell all the waves of the mind. Then you plunge into meditation. Okay. Yeah. So a friend here wanted this clarification, that use one of these 3 methods that I showed you to quieten the mind, still the mind, and then plunge into meditation. Yes, there are those who can do one method, that's perfectly all right. Or the second method, you can have a combination of the 2. Or there are who can use all the 3 methods before we can get into the actual, you can say, dynamics of meditation. So it depends on one's personality, depends on the time of the day, your state of the mind. Everything counts. Yes, if it's bright and sunny, you also feel like bright and sunny. Let's do it. It's cold and damp and dark and yeah, you can do one of the things. So see what exactly your mind wants at this time. Okay. The online question is, so can the third method also be thought of as the wisdom mind watching the monkey mind? Yes. I didn't want to bring this, the division between the monkey mind. Yes, it is something like that. You are watching the monkey mind, the objective mind, and it's like a monkey. You heard of that little story Swami Vivekananda gave about this monkey? Well, there was a monkey, restless by nature, and then a scorpion stung him. You can, when you're stung by a scorpion, you keep on jumping about the whole day. So that restlessness was compounded by the monkey being bitten by a scorpion. And then some, you can say, foolish person, or rather a wicked person, he gave some free liquor to the monkey, and then the monkey's restlessness kept on increasing. Can you imagine the restless monkey being bitten by a scorpion and then drunk also? And then, to make matters even worse, a demon entered into that monkey, and that is what happens to the mind when it is bitten, the restless mind which is bitten by jealousy, and then the demon of pride enters inside, and then everything goes off, you can say. So it's always, don't let all these things happen. So monkey mind, yes, and wisdom mind. You are the subject and that is the object. You are separating these two things. Okay. If there are no more questions, we can say see you then next Friday. We are going to talk about one very important aspect of meditation called the flow. When I was in Los Angeles, I had spoken about this 2 times there. So it will be a kind of a recap for me also to understand what flow is in meditation. You have to get into that flow. Then meditation becomes easy. You can sit down for hours without any awareness or any fatigue. Okay. Om, peace, peace, peace.